Throughout the 19th and 20th centuries, the world bore witness to countless strange photographs, images that, at first glance, seemed ordinary, yet concealed mysteries that continue to spark debate to this very day. From the haunting images of the Hindenburg Disaster to the human shadows etched onto the walls of Hiroshima after the atomic blast, these photographs have become more than just records of tragedy. Each one evokes memories of a world that, over the course of the past 100 years, has often appeared unsettlingly strange. Join us as we embark on a journey to uncover some of the most mysterious photographs ever captured in history in today's video. The photograph of a man in free fall. The image was captured by photographer Richard Drew at 9:40 on the morning of September 11th from the North Tower of the World Trade Center. Against the backdrop of the skyscraper, a lone man is seen plummeting toward the ground. The photograph would later become known as the Falling Man. In a subsequent investigation published by the Globe and Mail, journalist Peter Cheney suggested that the man might have been Norberto Hernandez, a pastry chef who worked at the windows of the World Restaurant on the 106th floor of the North Tower. Some of the victim's family members initially agreed with that conclusion, but after examining the details of the man's clothing, they later disputed the identification. The Hindenburg Disaster photograph. In May of 1937, the Hindenburg airship, SEY, Germany's great pride and a symbol of the golden age of giant airship travel, SEY, was preparing to land at the Lakehurst Naval Air Station in New Jersey. It was a transatlantic commercial voyage, carrying close to 100 passengers and crew. At the time, traveling aboard one of these massive airborne vessels was considered the pinnacle of luxury. But in a single instant, that pride turned into one of the most haunting tragedies of the 20th century. As the Hindenburg descended for landing, a sudden spark ignited near its tail. Within seconds, flames consumed the airship's frame, stretching more than 240 meters in length. The images captured that day became some of the most famous photographs in human history. The disaster claimed 35 lives and left the entire world in shock. Yet those photographs represent more than just a tragedy. They also marked the end of an era. After the inferno at Lakehurst, public confidence in hydrogen-powered airships collapsed completely, paving the way for airplanes to take over the skies. For skeptics, the Hindenburg disaster stands as a stark warning about the dangers of using highly flammable hydrogen in aviation. But to many others, the images transcend technical explanations. They symbolize the fragility of human pride and serve as a chilling reminder that a single spark can bring an entire age to an abrupt end. The first photograph ever taken. In 1862, at a time when photography was still a fledgling invention, the world witnessed what seemed almost like a miracle, a moment of reality captured on a sheet of metal. Using a cumbersome camera and a painstaking chemical development process, pioneers produced an image that is now regarded as the very first photograph in human history. Though crude in quality, with blurred details and only black and white tones, its significance went far beyond aesthetics. That image opened the door to a new era, an age in which humanity could preserve its existence through pictures rather than relying solely on words or sketches. It marked a turning point. People could not only tell their stories but also prove their presence. From that moment in 1862, the art and science of photography advanced rapidly, evolving from ghostly, indistinct images to color film, to digital photography, and ultimately to today's age of artificial intelligence. Yet the very first photograph still carries a strange allure, 19, as a timeless testament to humanity's unyielding desire to capture and preserve the passage of time. The photograph of the kiss. Captured by Alfred Eisenstaedt in New York on August 14, 1945, the kiss, also known as VJ Day, in Times Square, immortalized the iconic moment when a U.S. Navy sailor embraced and kissed a stranger in the middle of Times Square. Widely circulated after its publication in Life magazine, the photograph remains one of the clearest examples of the power of street photography. Eisenstaedt was present in Times Square on the day that would forever be remembered as Victory over Japan Day, the moment when World War II came to an end with the surrender of Imperial Japan. The war's conclusion ignited nationwide celebrations, including a jubilant street party in Times Square, where Eisenstaedt captured the sailor spontaneously kissing an unknown woman. Many factors contributed to the image's iconic status. It feels at once candid and staged, spontaneous yet perfectly composed. The photograph embodies the spirit of unrestrained celebration and has left a lasting cultural imprint on American history. The human shadow on the wall, Hiroshima. On August 6, 1945, the first atomic bomb in human history was dropped on the city of Hiroshima, Japan. In an instant, the sky blazed brighter than a million suns, and a massive fireball consumed the city. At ground zero, temperatures were estimated to have exceeded 4,000 degrees Celsius, I5, hot enough to vaporize any living being in a fraction of a second. When the smoke and dust finally settled, authorities discovered something horrifying amid the scorched ruins: the shadow of a human figure seared into a stone wall near the Aoi Bridge. This mark was not painted or carved, but rather a negative image of a person annihilated in an instant by the bomb's searing heat. The victim's body had absorbed the full force of the radiation, leaving behind only the silhouette, a chilling photograph burned into the very moment of their final breath. The shadow of the person quickly became one of the most terrifying visual proofs of the atomic bomb's destructive power. Skeptics have explained it as a simple physical phenomenon, where the victim's body shielded the wall, the surface retained its darker shade, while the rest of the stone was bleached by the intense energy. Yet for those who saw it with their own eyes, the shadow seemed more like a soul permanently etched into the wall. Today, this haunting imprint is displayed at the Hiroshima Peace Memorial Museum. It stands not only as evidence of an immense tragedy, but also as a warning to all of humanity that nuclear power has the ability to erase life in the blink of an eye. Galloping Gertie, the collapse of the Tacoma Narrows Bridge. On November 7, 1940, the Tacoma Narrows Bridge in Washington State, USA, then one of the longest suspension bridges in the world, suddenly became the stage for an unprecedented engineering disaster. From the moment it opened only a few months earlier, the bridge had earned the nickname Galloping Gertie because of the violent swaying it experienced whenever the wind blew. Engineers at the time believed that its high flexibility made the structure more lively, but not dangerous. They were wrong. On that fateful day, winds gusting at nearly 40 miles per hour swept across the Puget Sound. The bridge deck began to undulate like waves and twist violently, creating a scene both surreal and terrifying. Bystanders captured the rare footage, a massive steel span writhing like a ribbon in the wind. Minutes later, the sound of metal snapping echoed through the air, the roadway split apart, and the bridge plunged into the waters below. Fortunately, there was little loss of life, apart from a dog that had been trapped inside a car. Yet the photographs and film of Galloping Gertie's collapse entered history, becoming a classic case study in civil engineering. Scientists later determined the cause to be aerodynamic resonance, in which the wind continually amplified the bridge's natural frequency until the oscillations grew uncontrollable. This mistake revolutionized the field of structural engineering, forcing designers worldwide to account for wind effects and vibration frequencies in every large-scale project that followed. The face in the window. This family had just moved into their new apartment in Chicago, Illinois. Yet in the photograph, a face clearly appears in the left-hand window, that of an elderly woman with what looks like a bulldog sitting beside her. The couple, however, firmly insisted that no one else had been inside the home at the time the picture was taken. Sometimes it takes us a long time to truly grasp what is happening in a photograph. At first glance, the young women appear as though they are clinging to the wall, a sight that many have compared to a scene from The Exorcist. In reality, the images were taken in 1977 and simply show ballet dancers in the middle of their training. Over time, however, these photos have repeatedly been misrepresented, leading many to mistakenly believe that the women were political prisoners or refugees. The ghostly hand. In the photograph of Irish mill workers. In the 1930s, at a textile mill in Belfast, Ireland, a group of young female workers gathered to take a commemorative photograph after their shift. At first glance, the picture seemed entirely ordinary. The girls wore their work uniforms, sitting closely together, their faces a mix of weariness and innocence. But when the photograph was developed, one chilling detail immediately unsettled everyone. Resting lightly on the shoulder of a girl in the back row was a hand, a hand that belonged to no one in the group. Every woman in the photograph swore that no one had been standing behind them or placing a hand there at the time. Later, image experts confirmed that the picture showed no signs of tampering, especially considering how rudimentary photo editing technology was in that era. So, what was that hand? Skeptics argue it may have been nothing more than a trick of light and shadow created by the overlapping forms of the girls as they sat together. But for many others, particularly in Ireland, a land steeped in folklore of spirits and the supernatural, the ghostly hand is regarded as evidence of something otherworldly making its presence known. The Shroud of Turin. Among the most controversial religious relics in history, the Shroud of Turin has remained at the center of debate for centuries. This linen cloth, more than 4 meters in length, bears the faint image of a man whose body shows signs of severe injuries, most notably wounds resembling nail marks on the wrists and feet. Since the 14th century, it has been housed in Turin, Italy, and revered as a sacred artifact tied to the Passion of Jesus Christ. Yet it was not until the late 19th century that its mystery truly erupted. In 1898, photographer Secondo Pia took the first photograph of the shroud. When he developed the film, he was astonished to discover that the negative revealed a clear, detailed portrait of a man. The revelation shocked the world, prompting many to believe that the image was not a product of medieval artistry, but rather a supernatural imprint left behind in some inexplicable way. Scientists soon launched a series of examinations, from fiber analysis and blood testing to radiocarbon dating. In 1988, carbon dating indicated that the cloth dated back to the 13th or 14th century, supporting claims that it was merely a medieval forgery. However, more recent research has questioned the accuracy of that conclusion, suggesting that the tested sample may have come from a patched or contaminated section of the shroud. Modern analysis has also detected genuine bloodstains, reigniting debates over the image's origin. Explanations have ranged from a painstaking hand-drawn artwork to primitive printing techniques or even unusual chemical reactions caused by the decomposition of a body. Still, no single theory has provided a fully convincing answer. For the faithful, the Shroud of Turin remains a sacred testament to the resurrection. For the scientific community, it endures as an unsolved archaeological riddle, and across the centuries, the shroud continues to challenge the boundary between faith and science. The photograph of the White Pyramid in China. Among the lesser-known archaeological mysteries, the story of the White Pyramid of China stands out as one of the most intriguing enigmas of the 20th century. In the 1940s, American pilot James Gossman was flying a mission over Shaanxi province when he happened to capture a strange photograph. Directly beneath his aircraft stood a massive pyramid-shaped structure, gleaming white and towering above the valley floor. According to Gossman's account, the monument rose hundreds of meters high, with smooth, even sides and a summit that appeared once to have been capped with a reflective metallic substance. The photograph quickly spread, sparking heated debate among researchers and government authorities. Some believed it to be proof of an ancient pyramid-building culture in China, with origins stretching back thousands of years. Yet the Chinese government of the time remained conspicuously silent, and access to the region was heavily restricted for decades. Modern satellite imagery has since revealed hundreds of earthen mounds and pyramid-like structures scattered across the landscape near Xi'an. Many of these have been identified as imperial tombs from dynasties such as the Han and Tang. Still, none has ever been officially recognized as the legendary White Pyramid. Scholars have offered varying theories. Some suggest that what Gossman saw may have been a royal mausoleum clad in pale clay, reflecting the sun's rays. Others argue it was simply an optical illusion or a trick of the light. Yet the pilot's testimony and the surviving aerial photograph continue to stoke speculation that China may once have harbored a pyramid-building tradition on par with Egypt. The mystery only deepens given that many archival records of Gossman's original image have since disappeared, leaving investigators with little opportunity to verify its authenticity. To this day, the White Pyramid has never been formally acknowledged in archaeological records, but it endures as one of the most captivating legends of humanity's forgotten monuments. The photograph of a Titanoboa-like creature in the Congo. Among the trove of mysterious tales that emerge from the African rainforest, one of the most hotly debated is a photograph said to capture a colossal creature resembling Titanoboa in the Congo. Titanoboa was a prehistoric giant snake that went extinct more than 58 million years ago, reaching lengths of over 40 feet and regarded as the largest serpent ever to slither upon the earth. Yet, in the mid-20th century, several pilots flying over the Congolese jungle claimed to have seen a snake stretching dozens of feet as it wound its way through the treetops. One of the most prominent witnesses was a Belgian pilot named Remy van Lierde, who reported that he not only spotted the beast from the air, but also managed to photograph it. His image shows a massive, grayish-brown creature coiled amid the dense green canopy. Comparing its size to the surrounding trees, many estimated that the snake measured between 40 and 50 feet long. Some researchers believe it may have been an African python that had grown to an extreme and exceedingly rare size. Skeptics, however, dismiss the story as little more than an optical illusion, with camera angles and shadows exaggerating the animal's proportions. Other theories go even further, suggesting the creature could be an undiscovered species lurking deep within unexplored stretches of the rainforest. The legend gains even more weight when paired with the oral traditions of local tribes who have long spoken of monstrous devil snakes dwelling in rivers or hidden in the jungle depths. Despite repeated analysis of the photograph, no conclusive judgment has ever been reached regarding its authenticity. This has secured its place as one of the most contested pieces of visual evidence for the possible existence of giant creatures in the modern age. Were a snake like Titanoboa truly to have survived into the present, it would rank as one of the most staggering discoveries in the history of both archaeology and biology. But until more definitive proof emerges, the photograph remains suspended on the narrow line between fact, legend, and imagination. Thank you for watching until the very end. If you enjoy videos like this, be sure to subscribe to the channel so that you receive a notification each time we release a new one.